This is SARS-CoV-2, the virus responsible for the current coronavirus pandemic. It belongs to the family of coronaviruses. These viruses are so named due to the spikes on their surfaces that look like a crown. Coronavirus infection or COVID-19 is a contagious viral infection that affects primarily your throat and lungs. So, what actually happens in your body when infected by coronavirus? And what exactly causes your body to develop pneumonia or symptoms of pneumonia? These are questions that we have all had since the inception of this pandemic. The coronavirus must infect living cells in order to reproduce. Let's have a closer look at this virus. Inside the virus, genetic materials contain information to make more copies of itself. A protein shell provides a hard, protective enclosure for the genetic materials as the virus travels between the people it infects. An outer envelope allows the virus to infect cells by merging with the cell's outer membrane. Now, projecting from the envelope are spikes of protein molecules. So the coronavirus uses the spike as a key to get inside the cells of your body, where it takes over the cell's internal machinery, repurposing it to build the components of new viruses. When an infected person talks, coughs, or sneezes, droplets carrying the virus may land in your mouth or nose, and then quickly move into your throat and lungs. Once the virus comes into contact with cells in your throat, nose, and lungs, one of the spikes on the virus inserts into a receptor molecule on your healthy cell membrane in the form of a key and a lock. This action allows the virus to get inside your cell. A typical flu virus will travel inside a sac made from your cell membrane toward your cell's nucleus that has its own genetic material. The coronavirus, on the other hand, does not need to enter the host cell's nucleus. It can directly access parts of this host cell called the ribosomes. Now, these ribosomes use genetic information from the virus to make viral proteins such as the spikes we see on the surface of the virus. After that, a packaging structure in your cell then carries the spikes in vesicles, which then merge with your cell's outer layer, that is the cell membrane. All the parts needed to create a new virus gathers just beneath the membrane. So, new viruses are now formed. These new viruses will now bud off from the cell membrane and begin to spread throughout your system. Now, let's look at how this leads to symptoms of pneumonia. By the way, pneumonia is an inflammatory condition of the lung affecting primarily the microscopic air sacs, which we call the alveoli. So let's get into the lungs and see what exactly happens there. So we have two lungs, the left lung and the right lung. The left lung has two lobes, whereas the right lung has three lobes. Normally, as you breathe, air moves through the larynx into the windpipe or the trachea. The trachea then branches into two large tubes called the left and the right bronchi, which then branches further into smaller tubes called the bronchioles. The air finally arrives in tiny sacs called the alveoli. This is where the exchange of gases takes place. So let's zoom into this part to see what the alveoli really look like. These alveoli are very flexible. When we breathe in, the alveoli inflate like small balloons to accumulate enough pressure within them. It is this pressure that helps the transport of gases across its membrane. When we exhale or breathe out, the alveoli will then deflate but not collapse in order to maintain enough pressure within them. Now, surrounding these alveoli are networks of blood vessels called capillaries. Oxygen from the air you breathe in passes into your alveoli and is transported across its membrane into your capillaries, whereas carbon dioxide from your body passes out of the capillaries into the alveoli and is then exhaled into the atmosphere. Your airways trap germs and foreign particles in the mucus that is naturally secreted into the tubes, being the bronchioles, the bronchi, and the trachea, in response to those foreign particles. In a healthy person, there are hair-like structures called cilia lining the tubes. These cilia constantly push the mucus and germs upward to the trachea and the larynx. This induces a cough reflex, and we then cough out and expel the mucus with these germs. Normally, your immune system will produce immune cells such as interleukins, abbreviated as ILs, to attack viruses and germs that escape the mucus and cilia of the tubes to enter the alveoli. However, if your immune system is weakened, as in the case of a coronavirus infection, the virus can overwhelm your immune cells. This will cause enormous inflammation of your bronchioles and alveoli as your immune system attempts to attack the multiplying viruses. This inflammation can cause your alveoli to fill with fluid. Now, this is very bad. This space within the alveoli is where gas exchange takes place. So if it is now filled with fluid, then the exchange of gases will be severely affected, and your body will not get the oxygen it needs. Alveoli are present in each of the lobes of the left and right lungs. So depending on which alveoli are affected, you could either develop lobar pneumonia, where a particular lobe of one lung is affected, or you could have bronchopneumonia, which affects many areas of both lungs. Pneumonia may cause difficulties in breathing, chest pain, coughing, fever and chills, and even confusion, headache, muscle pain, and fatigue. There could be serious complications like respiratory failure. Now, respiratory failure occurs when your breathing becomes so difficult that you need a ventilator to help you breathe. Now, whether you will develop any of these symptoms depends on certain factors, for example, your age or whether you have any pre-existing conditions. Healthcare facilities, research institutions, pharmaceutical companies, and governments all over the world have all contributed immensely in the fight against this virus. Vaccines have even been developed to that effect. However, the coronavirus, that is COVID-19, has undergone mutation somehow, and now we have more virulent and more contagious strains of this virus. So the big question is, how does this affect the enormous progress we have made so far in curbing the spread of this virus, and whether the vaccines already in circulation will even work against the new strains of the virus? Well, as of now in January 2021, not enough credible information is available out there pertaining to the new strains of this virus. So, it is generally recommended to abide by public health measures such as social distancing, wearing of face masks, and good personal hygiene. Thanks for watching.